You're not lazy. You're one of the most ambitious people in the room. And that, weirdly, is exactly why you can't start. Stay with me. Because that's not a compliment wrapped in a compliment. That's the actual trap. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. I know this loop well. I spent about 2 years being the most ambitious person in the room who somehow never actually started anything. And the thing nobody told me, the thing I had to figure out the hard way, is that the ambition itself was part of the problem. Here's a day that might feel familiar. You wake up with the intention, today is the day. Then you check your phone, just to see what happened overnight. 40 minutes later, the morning's already gone. You tell yourself you'll start after lunch. Lunch comes, you're tired. Maybe after a short break. The break becomes the afternoon. And then it's night and you're lying there with that familiar weight. I wasted another day. You make promises in the dark. Tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow comes. You already know what happens next. The vision board from January? Still on the wall. Edges starting to curl. The tabs you opened to finally start the project? You closed them last week because they sat there long enough to feel like an accusation. I've heard so many people describe some version of this, telling themselves they'll start tomorrow, genuinely believing it every single time. Not as an excuse, as a real plan that just never quite arrived. That's not a character flaw. That's a loop, and loops have a mechanism. Here's what's running underneath all of it. Your brain is operating two systems simultaneously, and they want completely opposite things. One is forward thinking. It has the vision, the 5-year plan, the version of your life that feels almost within reach. The other is ancient. It doesn't know what a goal is. Its entire job is to keep you safe right now, conserve energy, avoid discomfort, retreat from anything uncertain. When you sit down to do real work, that older system clocks the effort ahead and it flinches. So it hands you something easier. Your hand reaches for the phone. And here's the thing about the dopamine you get from scrolling. It's not the pleasure chemical. Research actually describes it more as the craving chemical. It drives you toward things, but it doesn't satisfy you. So you scroll, the discomfort quiets, and your brain logs the lesson. Avoiding the hard thing made the bad feeling stop. Do that again. Every day you repeat this, that pathway gets a little wider. And here's the part nobody talks about. The guilt you feel at night? It doesn't motivate you the next morning. Psychologists who study self-compassion have found something counterintuitive. Shame and self-criticism raise your cortisol. And when your brain is flooded with stress, it craves fast relief. Cheap dopamine. Which means you wake up more primed to reach for your phone, not less. The punishment is actually refueling the cycle. But here's what makes ambitious people specifically more trapped than everyone else. When you have a big vision, a really clear picture of what success looks like, the gap between that vision and your current skill level feels unbearable. So your brain does something clever. It protects the vision by never testing it. Because as long as you never actually try, the vision stays perfect, intact, safe. Average people procrastinate because starting feels hard. Ambitious people procrastinate. Failing would mean something. And that distinction matters. Because the fix is different. Now here's where it gets specific. Because there are 3 traps that keep smart, ambitious people stuck. And the smarter you are, the more vulnerable you are to all 3. The first is the motivation myth. Most of us believe inspiration comes before action. You wait for the feeling, then you start. But behavioral research is pretty clear on this. It's backward. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. The brain releases a small hit of dopamine when you complete even a tiny step. That internal signal is what generates the drive to continue. You don't wait until you feel ready. You start. And the feeling arrives after. You've had the equation reversed. So has almost everyone watching this. The second trap is perfectionism. And it's wearing a disguise. It doesn't feel like fear. It feels like caring. It feels like high standards. But here's what it's actually protecting. the story you've been telling yourself about your potential. As long as you never really try, you get to keep believing in the version of you that could do something incredible. If only the timing were right, if only the conditions were better. The moment you actually try and your first draft is rough, you have to face your real skill level right now. And that gap between who you imagined you were and what you actually produced. That's the thing your brain is working overtime to avoid. So it tells you to wait, to prepare more, to get it right before you begin. It's safer to be the person with unlimited potential than to be a clumsy beginner in real life. Even if that means nothing ever actually gets built. A messy first attempt can be fixed. A blank page stays blank. The third trap is the one this video is technically an example of. You watch content about productivity, you listen to podcasts about discipline, you read about habits, and your brain rewards you because it looks like progress. You feel like you're working on yourself. But there's a difference between collecting insight and applying it. At least when you're playing a game, you know you're procrastinating. Educational content gives you the feeling of forward motion without any of the actual friction. It's the most sophisticated form of avoidance because it's invisible. And the more ambitious you are, the more you consume. Because every new framework feels like the missing piece. Every new book feels like the thing that will finally make you ready. It won't. You already know what you need to do. So what actually moves the needle? 1. Make the first step absurdly small. Not work for 4 hours. Not finish the project. Open the document and write one sentence. That's the whole goal. Your brain's alarm system doesn't trigger for something that's small. And once you're in motion, inertia takes over. The hardest part of the entire process is going from 0 to 1. 2. Design your environment. Don't fight it. The people who seem to have unlimited willpower aren't stronger than you. They've arranged their surroundings so they need it less. Phone in another room. Notifications off. Distractions physically removed. You're not trying to get stronger. You're trying to make resistance unnecessary. 3. Cut the guilt short. Not because you don't deserve to feel it, but because it's making tomorrow harder, not easier. Treat a bad day like a system error. What broke? What's the reset? That's it. Professionals don't let one bad day become a week-long crisis. They acknowledge it and start again faster. Here's the thing I want you to sit with. The mental prison in the title isn't built from laziness. It's built from one repeated choice, the choice to wait for the right feeling, the right moment, the right version of yourself. And the cruelest part? The more you care about getting it right, the longer you wait. The bigger your vision, the more paralyzing the gap feels. Your ambition, the thing that was supposed to drive you, became the thing keeping you still. That's the trap, not laziness. Ambition without a release valve. You already know what your next step is. Not a plan, not a goal. The actual next thing, the one you've been postponing. After this video ends, do that one thing. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. The readiness comes after. Which of the 3 traps hit closest to home for you? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And if you want more content like this, subscribe. New videos soon.